Thank you so much for joining me today. And I've got such a wonderful, amazing, beautiful guest, and her name is called Holly Duckworth. And I have to mention that I owe Holly a lot, because when I was coming up through the ranks and I'd just done the level 2 course, I was wondering how to get customers and how to get clients and stuff like that. So I looked up on the forum, and Holly Duckworth has got so much advice on how to get clients and just putting in the hard work and what she did. So I did exactly what Holly Duckworth said, and it really helped my life, and it really did change my life, and it got me a lot of clients. So thank you so much, Holly. Much gratitude.
It's wonderful to be here with you, John. But what did I do? What was the secret? Because I tried a lot of stuff.
It was what gravitated towards me was when you said that you put a little table out at your local fruit and veggie market.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can do that. So but for me, I just had a picture of Dolores and Dolores books, and I just had a pack of angel cards. And it was very easy, and it took a little bit. Like, I didn't get 20 clients in the first time. It took over a few months, but my business just grew and grew and grew, and that was a big part of it. And that's why I'm so thankful to you, Holly.
I actually did hypnosis at the farmer's market. And I can tell you a funny story about one of those experiences. So I would do, again, all of this, me being at the farmer's market was just about outreach, just sharing what QHHT was about, sharing what hypnosis was about, making it less scary for the average person at the farmer's market. And so I had some little brochures I give out. I would have my Dolores books and my business cards. But then I also had one of those, they're the lawn chairs that will go straight out. They're called zero gravity lawn chairs. And I had one of those and like some little partitions on my tent there in the farmer's market. And I would do Dolores's script for group regression, but just one-on-one. Yeah. So the person would come in and we'd set an intention. I'd get them comfy on the lawn chair, and we'd go into hypnosis right there in the middle of the farmer's market. And it worked. It was crazy. And one time I had someone come in for one of these little 15-minute, just introductory kind of sessions. And it was like 5 minutes before the farmer's market was closing for the day. And so I told the woman, I'm like, well, they're going to be closing down here. I'm willing to do it if you're willing to do it. But just to let you know, the farmers are going to be like closing up shop here in a few minutes. She's like, that's fine. It's okay. Well, my husband would come to help me fold the tent back down and put the tent back up. It's huge. I mean, this thing takes, a lot of muscle to get up and down. So he had already arrived to help me take the tent down. So the woman's in the lawn chair. I'm sitting here, and my husband's in the yard on the other side, but he can see me and her. She gets into hypnosis. And all of a sudden, the farmers are bringing their giant diesel trucks and their trailers, and they're slamming their coolers and their refrigerators, and they're throwing things in the truck and their chairs and everything. And it is loud. And those farmers are ready to get the heck out of there, right? They want to go home. They've been
home time,
right? And so, but my client doesn't hear any of it. She's in hypnosis. And I can see my husband on the other side of her. My husband's going, oh my God, I can't believe it. And I'm like, and we're like making faces at each other, like, can you believe this? She's like completely under. She can't hear any of this. Sure enough, I brought her out 15 minutes later, and she was completely unaware of the diesel trucks and everything all the way around.
Wow.
Hilarious, just hilarious. So
she was fully in the moment.
Yeah, needless to say, she booked a full session. So yeah.
Yeah. She would have had an amazing session. Oh.
But anyway, just funny, the farmer's market experience. I'm glad that helped you. I'm glad that was useful for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do any hypnosis under it. I was just handing out business cards, and what I'd actually do was just on the back of my business cards, I'd just write down Dolores Cannon, and I'd just say, just go and Google her, and I'd just leave it up to Dolores to weave her magic, and then people would ring me and go, wow, this woman's amazing. How come I've never heard of her before?
Yeah.
Fine timing.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to get to spend a little bit of time with her when she was still here.
Yes, yeah. Tell me about that story, because you're one of the very fortunate, beautiful people that have actually spent time with Dolores.
Yeah, my first experience with her was my introduction to any of her work. So I had just how I got into all of this, which is a crazy, crazy story. My son had gone to jail for a DUI when he was about 19 or 20. And he was going to be in jail for 21 days. And I couldn't even visit him. I could only like talk to him on the phone or video chat or whatever. And I was a wreck. I was an emotional wreck. And so in one of those video calls or phone calls, he said, hey, Mom, I found this book. I think you'd really like it. And it was Convoluted Universe Book 4. I'd never heard of Dolores, like not even remotely heard of Dolores. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll get it. It sounds interesting. So, we hang up and I'm on Amazon, click, and get the book. And I start reading Convo 4 and I'm like, oh my gosh, everything I've ever believed is in print. It's in this book, and I've never seen it in print before. And so I think by the time he got home, I had read 5 of her books. Like I'd devour them. Like I'd finish that. And you know how big Convo 4 is. I mean, it's a huge book. And I just read and read. Well, that was in December of 2012. And she would do these weekend seminars, the 3-day seminars. And she was going to have one in January. And so I told my son, I'm like, let's go see her. Let's go be in the room with her. And so we lived in Phoenix at the time. That was in Sacramento. So my son and I flew to Sacramento and we're in the room with her for this weekend. Okay. So I have to set this up. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was over the top. It was insane. I mean, it's a hotel ballroom of 100 people, right? And she's putting everybody into hypnosis simultaneously, and it's nuts. But anyway, I was a skeptic, okay? I had read all of her books, not all of them, but a lot of her books. And I'm like, enormous amount of respect for her, the research that she did, her approach, everything. But I was kind of like, this hypnosis thing, that kind of works on those other people. That doesn't work on me, right? My bachelor's degree is in mechanical engineering, okay? I'm as left brain as it gets, okay? Super analytical. At the time, I was in the corporate world, and just, I'm walking into that seminar wanting to be in the room with this like amazing researcher, but not thinking that it's going to work on me. And so, of course, first time out of the chute, it's like insane. I'm having these profound experiences. And that was in January. So we went through the whole weekend. It was amazing and beautiful and wonderful. And I was in class in February, the next month. I'm like, that's it. I found it. I know what I'm doing for the rest of my life. This is it.
Wow.
It was so powerful. She was so powerful.
The synchronicities to get you there.
Yeah. So years later, my son and I, we've talked about it. Like that was the whole purpose. That was the reason for him. I mean, he's a great kid now. He's finished with college. He's, you know, he's doing great. But we reflect on that and go, yeah, that's why. That was them figuring out how to get Dolores in front of me. And they knew that if I was in that, you know, that very distraught emotional state, that I was going to listen to him, my son, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So in your opinion, what was Dolores like
Okay,
as a person?
I have a great story about that. She was, Dolores suffered no fools. She was pure love and she suffered no fools. Okay.
What does that mean?
She, if you didn't have your act together, she wasn't gonna just mess around. You know, she knew what she knew and she knew what she was doing. So I was in a big conference. I think it was either she would hold the transformation conference and the UFO conference. And she would speak at a lot of other conferences. I don't know if this was like a national UFO conference, maybe, but it was a huge conference. I mean, we're talking like 1,000 people, you know, in the audience kind of thing. And they would put the microphones up, you know, and then the person would speak, and then people could line up and ask their question to the speaker after their speech, you know, that usual conference setup. And so I'm just there to see Dolores. I'm in the audience, and so this dude comes up to ask her a question, and it was something so basic for Dolores. I mean, like, I don't remember the question, but it was something like, "Are aliens real?" or something like that. You know, I mean, it was just like, really, you're going to ask Dolores Cannon that question?
Yeah.
Like, there's a collective sigh in the audience, like, oh, how did you get to the microphone, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Dolores says to him, to the guy at the microphone, "I'm not going to answer that question here. You can find the answer on, you know, in this book on page 238.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't answer it.
No,
like, she quoted the book and the page on where to get the answer and refused to answer his basic question in the conference.
Wow.
Ooh. And she was in her 80s at the time.
Yeah.
What page it was on? Who does that? Who can do that? That's ridiculous.
With all the information that she had.
Yeah, 19. Thousands and thousands of pages.
Thousands of pages.
Which page this dude's basic question, the answer to his question was on. So,
wow, an amazing woman.
That is like the epitome of Dolores, right? I mean, she looks like the fluffy, you know, huggable grandma, and she was very loving in that way, but she was tough. Tough as nails. Yeah.
To me, she was very much on a mission, and she didn't have much time to waste on fluff.
Yeah, exactly. She didn't just fill the space, you know. And she took the teaching as seriously as that too, you know. I mean, it was you need to get this, you know, pay attention. You need to do. I mean, it's like when I first went for my level 3, I don't know if this happened for you for your level 3, is it the level 3 QHHT practitioner? But, you know, we're certified to be practicing exactly as Dolores did, right? Everything's scrutinized, everything, right, about her sessions is scrutinized. Now from Julia, but then from Dolores, and to make sure that you are practicing exactly as she did. Well, of course, I completely botched my level 3 after training. I mean, you come into training with all of your with your videos and your audios and all of that of your sessions.
I'm so excited.
It was so awful. Like I was changing words in the script. I mean, like if you could make a mistake, I was making a mistake, right? Like every possible mistake I was making. And I really want to go back and apologize to all the sessions I had as a level 1 and a level 2. It was that bad. So anyway, there was a lot of learning in my level 3. But I mean, think about it. You know, we don't even change a word, not a single word in the script. And I understand that now because it's like it took her 45 years to figure that out. Yeah. You know, she was working with that script for over 40 years. You know, designing every word, every intonation, every phrase, everything. You know, who am I? I've only been doing this for whatever that is, 8 years now. That's nothing compared to 40, right?
That's right. I was very much a clinical hypnotherapist before doing this stuff, and I still run my clinical practice. But I can understand from a technical point what she was actually doing in the script. And as soon as I read it, I just had so much respect for her because I was like, wow, this is amazing. She's put so much thought and heart into fine-tuning it. I just had so much respect for her. I was like, wow.
It is, her script is a masterpiece. It is an absolute, I tell the students that I teach now, I'm like, it is, when you really start to study it, it is a masterpiece.
Yes.
She probably had help too, I'm guessing, but.
We all do. So, you're very blessed to have met her and felt her presence.
Yeah, I am. I really am. Yeah, because otherwise I wouldn't. I mean, this spiritually oriented hypnotherapy was not in my line of sight, like at all. I would have never, had those circumstances not happened, I would have never found her, much less before she passed. So yeah.
Your whole life has changed because of her and your family and the ripple effect of your family.
Pretty much instantaneously. Yeah. That first hypnosis in that first seminar, at the first meeting of her, was like, oh, this changes everything. Yeah, this is it.
Oh,
and now we get to hear that from our clients. I mean, I know you hear it. I hear it like constantly about how their session changed their life.
Yeah, totally. And sometimes even doing the group regression sessions like you did with Dolores, even that can change people's lives and perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So imagine what a one-on-one session can do for people. Right.
I had my client just what is today? Today it is Wednesday today. My client yesterday. she says to me after, so you know, we do the interview before the hypnosis to make sure we understand the client's questions. Then we go into the hypnosis, and that's like 2+ hours. And then I do a little bit of debrief after the session, you know, just, you know, number one, making sure they're okay to drive home, you know, that they're awake and alert. And then number two, just to like solidify, you know, what they think they thought they heard, and with, you know, a little input for me. And what I also always try to do is have them listen to just a little bit of their recording before they leave my office, just to pique their curiosity, to make sure that they go home and listen to the whole thing, right? And so we were in that part of after the hypnosis, and she's telling me about her experience. She was consciously aware throughout, which many people are. And she says, I suddenly realized a little ways in that this subconscious that you were talking to was a real thing. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Hypnosis, her conscious mind is going, oh my gosh, she's really talking to somebody. Who's she talking to? Well, we kind of been talking about that all day before you went into this.
Yeah. It's a different part of you.
I don't know what she thought was gonna happen, but anyway, it was just this big surprise to her that, oh, I was really talking to somebody.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? So how have your sessions been going lately?
It's funny because I don't know. I mean, over the years, it seems like they bring me clients like in batches. Like you'll get clusters of kind of people with the same kinds of questions, the same kinds of experiences, like across a few months. It'll be like, oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another one. And these people don't know each other, right? They all come in like with kind of the same patterns. And then that pattern will go away and then it'll be something else. But then it'll be like a clump or a cluster of a different kind of pattern. And so lately the pattern's been, do you see that? Do you get that?
Yes. Yes.
Lately the pattern has been fear of just whether it's anxiety or worry or jealousy or judgment, all the many faces of fear. But there's just been a whole lot of people needing to work through, resolve, understand fear. And what the other thing that we get to do, being on the front seat of this kind of work, is we get to hear all the advice. And so we get to apply the advice to ourselves, right? From the higher self, from the subconscious, right? And so one of the things that has come out lately is just this understanding that, Dolores said that fear is not the opposite of love, that there is no opposite of love. Love is love. And what I've learned through this work is love it's not an emotion, it's an energy. It's an actual energy that flows, not a human emotion. Fear is a human emotion. And but knowing that fear is not the opposite of love, it's something different than love. But what I have learned from the conscious is that you can't be in a state of fear and a state of love simultaneously.
No, it's impossible.
Yeah. And so one of the repeated pieces of advice that people are getting from the higher self is that how to get yourself out of a state of fear and into a state of love. Like really practical, tactical kinds of things of how to get yourself out of a state of fear so that you can be in a state of love. And one of the ways that seems to be pretty easy for people to get out of a state of fear is gratitude. And so if you're in, like, let's say that as an example, let's say that somebody's like really impatient, like they're in traffic and they're all angry and it's road rage and they're just like, yelling and screaming and honking their horn or whatever. What's come through is, so this is, you're in a state of fear, and fear breeds fear. The purpose of fear is to make more fear. So guess what's going to happen? You're going to have more fear. But what the higher self is saying is, in that moment, catch yourself, understand that you're in a state of fear, that this impatience and rage and whatever is really just fear, another face of fear. And how you get out of that is to put yourself in a state of gratitude. So if you're, yelling at the traffic or whatever, you could just sit there and go, oh my gosh, look at this wonderful car I have. I'm so lucky to have this transportation. My car is beautiful. I love my car. Or look at the scenery, look at the park. How gorgeous is the park for me to live in this safe, secure city, with this kind of green space around it, or whatever. Or maybe you stopped at the drive-thru and you're eating French fries while you're in traffic. Have gratitude for the French fries. How wonderful that I have this food. Here with me. Whatever you can pull out of, put yourself in a state of gratitude, and the fear will immediately dissipate, because you can't be in a state of love and a state of fear simultaneously. And so, just like nudging yourself out of the fear into the love column is ridiculously simple by just focusing on gratitude.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. To me, that's almost changing the perspective, and it's them getting out of the emotion of what's happening at the time and looking at it from a bigger picture. And then once they do that, their energy will dissipate, basically.
Yeah. And then what's fascinating is how, so as I have client after client working through fear, for me, is to hear the same answers over and over again. And again, these people don't know each other. And yet there they are in deep hypnosis, and the higher self is saying exactly what the higher self said through the client 2 weeks ago, let's say.
Same message.
Exactly. It's nuts. And in fact, I'm writing a book about this. I'm in the final like cover design, proofreading. It'll be out pretty soon, kind of thing.
Wow.
But the title of the book is Finding Purpose, Surprising Wisdom from the Higher Self. And so what I've done over the years that I've been practicing, so a lot of people have the same question. Okay, so not only do we see answers, we see the same questions. And so some really, really, really common questions are that clients come in with, of course, is what is my life purpose? Like most people ask that, right? Do you see?
Yeah. Yes.
And then a lot of people ask, what is my life lessons? Am I learning my lessons? Am I learning what I came here to learn? A lot of people ask that question too. So I'm one of those people in sessions, I'm writing in my notebook the entire time that the higher self is speaking. That's just the way my brain works. I have to be like recording for this kind of, me looking at what I'm writing, keeping lots and lots of notes.
Yeah.
So after, I don't know, 5 or 6 years of this, and I'm recognizing these patterns, I'm like, well, there's some themes here. And the kind of research that I did for my PhD is called qualitative research. It's not quantitative research, it's qualitative. It's not statistics and numbers, it's studying words, okay, and themes with words. So after I had all these notes and I had all this information, all the answers to the same questions, I'm like, well, let me just run this through some thematic analysis. I can do this, so I'll just actually do the analysis. And it was nuts because I came up with 4 answers to the question of what is my life lesson.
Wow.
I mean, we're talking thousands of sessions. 4.
Yeah.
And 3 out of what is my life purpose. Yeah.
Interesting.
Isn't that crazy? And so like crazy, just consistency, right? Yeah, these people don't know each other from Adam. Here's the same answer coming and coming and coming. And so anyway, so I'm compiling all of that into a book because my thought process is, well, if people can't get into a QHHT session to have this answered for them personally, it's probably in the in the small set, you know, if you give your life purpose, it's probably somehow related to one of these three themes that
people can relate to.
People had the same answer to. So,
wow, yeah. How fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm excited. It'll be wonderful to share that.
When is it getting released?
Well, I'm meeting the 31st with the publisher with like the final proofreading's done Friday. The cover art is done. And I meet with the publisher for the actual printing and publishing and all that on the 31st. So
how exciting.
Couple months, I'm guessing. Yeah.
Oh, this year before Christmas.
Oh yeah.
Wow, how exciting. How exciting. There's a few other practitioners that have written books. I know that Suzanne Spoon is writing hers, that must be coming out pretty soon, and Sarah's, she's written her book.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing, yeah. Marilyn Dyke is, wow, I interviewed Marilyn Dyke the other day, and she said, Dolores was hounding me to write a book. It may or may not happen.
When's yours? When are you going to write yours?
Mine, I've actually been offered by a couple of publishers. If I was ever interested in writing a book, they'll put me up, but I don't know. It's just, yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I never say never,
right?
But it's a seed that might be planted right at the back of my head, but maybe one day.
You begin to realize how Dolores, she couldn't not write her books. You know, she was compelled. The information was so fascinating to her. She was compelled to share it with the world, thank goodness. And that's the way I felt about the one that I'm writing, is like, this is so fascinating. Everybody else needs to know this.
Yeah. I feel like Dolores was a writer that used hypnosis to get the information what she was writing.
Yeah.
And it just sort of expanded from there.
She called herself, her self-anointed title was Researcher of Lost Knowledge. Not hypnotherapist, not hypnotist. Researcher of Lost Knowledge. Yeah.
Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating woman. What's your favorite things? Is it healing, or is it finding out like the convoluted universe stories or anything like that? Is there a particular favorite?
Well, I think that probably what I gravitate towards more is really the psychological end of it. You know, I was a psychologist before I did this. I have a PhD in psychology, and what I find most fascinating, where I get my job, is when I can help people figure out what's going on here. You know, when I can help them through QHHT, right? Just live peacefully, symbiotically with the higher self, so that their living in a way, their human life is one that is of peace and love and just easy communion with the higher self on a moment to moment, day by day basis. So,
and by peace, my understanding of peace is inner peace. It's the inner peace that people are chasing. Yeah. Yes. Not peace to the world or anything like that. It's finding your own inner peace and accepting you for who you are and allowing yourself just to be who you are.
And to know that everything that ever happens is always perfect.
Yeah.
Not easy, not fun, not challenging, okay? It can be extremely challenging, extremely difficult, extremely hard to take, emotional, seemingly impossible. but it's always perfect. Yeah. And just to be in that state, live in that state of trust and allowing. That's a piece of it. So it's like plugging people into their higher self, you know, like the higher self was always there. It was never not there. And then the lower self was there. You know, ego mind was there, but they weren't connected. Like someone unplugged them, you know, and then through QHHT, you plug them back in, you know, so you're connected again.
Yeah, it's, I always say it's like the visible world and the invisible world, and there's a bridge in between them. And we're just cleaning that bridge up. So then you can just, there's a perfect communion between them. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what I love. That's what I love. I mean, of course, there's all kinds of physical healing. I mean, I've seen like stage 4 cancer instantaneously healed. I've seen tumors dissolve in front of my eyes. I've had clients who've had teeth regrow, metal and bone dissolved, name an autoimmune disease, it's disappeared. I mean, all of that, of course, that's wonderful. That's miraculous. I mean, that's wonderful to be in. But to just be able to plug people into their higher self all day, every day, that's the real, even when nothing's wrong with the physical, that's the real reward for me.
That's what makes your spark shine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me, have you had your own sessions?
Oh yeah.
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 Is there any that stand out to you?
So I have two ex-clients, QHHT clients that live here in Durango that went on to their level 1 and level 2 training. So there's 3 of us that practice here in Durango, in my little hometown. Yeah. So the 3 of us will get together and we're doing this thing called SC Summit. SC Summit.
Cool. That's super cool.
So about once every couple of months, we'll take the public's questions. So they send us their questions. We trade out. So one person will go under, one person will facilitate, and then the other person will be like a recorder, like recording the time and all that.
Yeah.
And then we ask, so we get the other person into hypnosis, and then we ask the public's questions of the higher self. And then the whole session gets published to YouTube. So, and then the next time we'll rotate, like the person that was the practitioner will now be the client, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So through that, we've done 6 of those so far. And through that, we've gotten, you know, a lot of practice. And then of course, you know, we teach, right? So there used to be before COVID opportunities, classes, right, to go under, and that can be pleasant or not so pleasant. People practice on you. Yeah, and then I've had 2 like full-blown private sessions of myself over the years. Yeah. And what's funny about my sessions, I guess, apparently I've had a lot of lives as animals. Like
wow.
Yeah. So I've experienced a life as an ant, an insect. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was seeing the way I'm guessing an ant sees that, you know, insects don't see the way humans see. And so when I first came off the cloud, I'm like, well, all the colors are wrong. This is weird. It was like gray and green, and it was kind of like looking at a photographic negative. And then I realized like the blades of grass were enormous. You know, the blades of grass were trees. And then of course I'm looking down at myself and I'm like, oh, I'm an ant. I'm an insect. And the other cool thing about that experience was, you know, we're all in our little ant line, go to an important day. We're all in our little ant line and we're crawling up a tree and we're going to go get seeds. Like we get, you know how ants have those little claws on their mouth kind of thing? I don't know the technical term for that. I don't know what it is. But anyway, we climb out onto the branch and we'd take our little claws and we'd bite a piece of the tree seed, and then we'd get back in our line and we'd take that back down to the colony, right?
Mm.
So it's my turn. I'm out there, I'm grabbing the seed, and I'm thinking, as an ant, this is dangerous. I could fall. Like I'm a little scared, you know.
You're scared. Mm.
As an ant, like I didn't know insects felt fear, but insects feel fear. And so, but you know, and then I went back away and everything was fine. But it was just shocking to me after that experience of thinking, oh,
They have feelings.
insects have emotions. Wait, insects know when something's dangerous or not. I never thought about that, but yeah. And then I've had 2 lives as a bat, different occasions, but one was a little tiny, like a cave bat, and then the other one was this enormous, like fruit bat animal thing, which is hilarious because I have a phobia of bats. I don't like bats. I hate bats. Of course, the higher self says, you know, they're showing me these bat lives because I'm afraid of bats.
Mm.
But here's another funny story about the bat. How do bats have babies? Because they hang upside down and they're mammals, right? So does the mama bat like push the baby against gravity to like birth the baby? No, that would be stupid. That would be ridiculous, right? But they don't walk on the ground. How's that going to work, right? So I had a baby. One of my important days as a bat was having a baby, and they get on a ledge in the cave, and they're on all fours. They're on their hands and their legs to give birth to the baby.
Wow.
Not hanging upside down. So,
well, there you go.
Who knew? I didn't know how bats had babies, but now I do.
Yeah.
So anyway, playing with all this, it's so much fun, right? Because you get to experience these really different lives, kinds of life firsthand. Like I know how an ant sees. Who else in the world can say that, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
How amazing. That's why I love this stuff. A client yesterday, she actually went to a mythological world, simultaneous life, so living it now, and she was a man, but he had wings.
Oh.
So you can fly. Yeah, and there was dragons and there was unicorns and it was such a beautiful experience. Yeah, it was so cool. So cool.
Yeah. So you have to think that, you know, we have all of these mythological creatures. I mean, we don't have men with wings. We have like a Pegasus. We have a horse with wings in our mythology. But you have to think that all of that mythology happened. Somebody accessed it, you know, through hypnosis, through dreams, through, you know, whatever, but in some sort of altered state of consciousness, and brought it here to us in the form of, right?
They put the energy into matter.
Yeah. Or found it, and now it's a myth, and now we know, you know, about those other places. Yeah.
That's absolutely unlimited.
It is.
Yeah. Just crazy. So
yeah.
Super.
Sometimes the client that's done a lot, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, the client that's done a lot of Dolores reading, they come into the session and they just know that they're going to go to some sort of alien planet and have like blue skin and be 18 feet tall or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then what actually happens is they go into what Dolores would call a digging potatoes life. You know, like there's some half-starving farmer during the Irish potato famine or whatever, you know, like something really mundane.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's how that works.
There's always a reason though. Yeah. There's always a reason for it.
Yeah.
It's just funny how it works. Yeah. People get what I always say, people get what they need, not necessarily what they want.
Exactly.
But it's all in divine timing, and it all has its purpose in the longer picture.
Yeah. And we find that out in this. Why did you show her that? What was up with that? Well,
totally.
we have her experience the bat life because she's afraid of bats.
Yeah. Now you're teaching QHHT and you've got a class coming up soon.
Yeah, end of July, and it's level 1 companion course. And I've had the opportunity to teach this 4 or 5 times, I think, over the past few years. Yeah, so it's a really fun class, and it's 3 days. So the first day is really like a lot of Q&A lecture. These are people that they don't necessarily, it could be level 2, level 1 or level 2, but people that are just starting out with their like legit, this is what I'm doing kind of practice. And so then the first day is like just a lot of Q&A. This is, hitting all the high points of the technique. The second day, the students practice on each other. So
actually practice on each other and have some fun.
Yeah, they give and receive sessions. Everyone gets to give a session and receive, and which is really cool. And then the third day is coaching on that experience from the prior day. So really getting into the nitty-gritty of technique and coaching about the experience that they just had the day prior. What went right, what went wrong, what could be improved. That kind of.
It's like a one-on-one coaching session at the end almost.
Well, almost, yeah. So it's good. Everybody's always really, really enjoys that class. It's a lot of fun. It really is, and they're small, so 10 people or less. So it's really intimate and really very individualized.
Awesome. And it's coming up in July.
Yeah.
Is that right? July 2021. If you're watching this in 5 years' time, it's gone.
28th and 29th of July. And live in person, actually in the room with another human being. And yeah.
With Holly Duckworth.
Yeah.
So tell me, if people were lucky enough to have a session with you, a one-on-one QHHT session with the great Holly Duckworth, how would they get hold of you? So
my website is and business is Aware Care Durango, AwareCareDurango.com. And then my email is just holly@awarecaredurango.com, and I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
And you can always look up Holly on qhhtofficial.com, find a practitioner, and just look up Holly Duckworth, and she'll be either on the very first page or the second page. She'll be on there somewhere. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much. Yeah. It's been so much fun.
It was my pleasure, John. It was a lot of fun.